And I just realized, look at this. I come with tambourines this morning. So this is the behind the scenes of Today with Pastor Jay, and I have the Honorable Will Furry. So let me know when you're ready, and we'll go ahead and begin, Mark. I'm in the studio today, guys. Hadn't been in studio, and I don't know when. Been a minute.
You are now tuned in to Today with Pastor Jay on WNZF News Radio, where we discuss inspiring and informative news. And now here's your host, Pastor Jerlyn Denny.
Wake up, wake up. Good morning, wake up. What a wonderful and beautiful day it is. And I am so excited to be in the studio. Most of you don't know this, but I've been recording out of the studio, whether I've been in my office, Washington, D.C., at home, no matter what, Georgia. But today I'm actually in the studio. And, I did this just because I have the Honorable Will Furry as my highly esteemed guest this morning.
Well,
How are you?
I'm honored to be here with you.
Yeah. Well,
And when you say you're in D.C., you were at the White House, weren't you?
Well, again.
Again.
I feel like Forrest Gump going to the White House again. But yes, I was. And it was phenomenal because this last time I went was because of faith. I was invited by the faith office. So that was interesting enough. And you are a man of faith.
Yes, and I appreciate that the president makes that a priority in his office.
It is a priority, so much so that the faith office is in the West Wing. How cool is that?
That is cool.
That is super cool. But we'll hear about you. You've been on the school board for a little minute now, right?
Yeah, it's about 2.5 years of my 4-year term. It'll be 3 years in November.
Mm-hmm. And it's coming up real quick. And
yes.
Are you where you thought you would be? What I love about you made so many promises during your campaign. Yeah. And you have a checklist and you've been checking them off.
Yes.
One by one.
Yeah. And honestly, I have accomplished just about everything on that list. The only remaining item is a safety and security check that I want to do hopefully before my term is up, is to bring the Guardian program to Flagler County.
And there's different versions of the Guardian program.
And we'll talk that through as a board eventually. And we'll work closely with the sheriff on that. And we want to make sure that the community wants it. And but it was clear when I ran, that was on the front of my campaign.
Safety and security, absolutely.
And same with Christy Chong. And we both won by a very large majority. So that definitely is sort of a de facto survey that the community wants that in our schools. So
when you got in office, it was a lot going on.
There were
the books, parental rights.
Yep.
I mean, it was just swirling around. People were coming to school board meetings and protests.
And parental rights was a very big issue during my election, and that was something that parents wanted to send school board members that were going to protect and defend their parental rights. And they wanted to make sure also that whoever they sent there was going to make sure there was age-appropriate materials in our schools. And even one thing that's great is in Florida, we have a legislature that had a laser focus on that. And shortly after I was elected, we have now laws with teeth to protect our young minds from materials like that. But I did have book challenges come before me, and I voted against them. But now we've seen that reduced because now the law has taken
The laws have taken effect.
Yes.
But before that, you had all these challenges. And how was that process for you?
It always baffled me. And I used there was this one book, and it wasn't the worst one, but still did not feel that it was appropriate to be in our libraries. And I said to the room, I said, when I was a kid, there were sometimes that you could have a good message, but there were two versions of it, right? So you had the TV, you had the movie that was maybe rated R in the movie theater, but when they brought it to TV, they took out all
That's true.
the inappropriate things, right?
That's
so you can still deliver the message without having raunchy material in a book, right? And still get the same effect and deliver the message if that's really what your goal is. So that was the debate that, and that was one that some of the board members voted to keep in, but at least I was able to get it out of the elementary schools.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and put it into only high school.
Yeah, I have children and grandchildren. Oh my goodness, grandchildren in elementary school, and because all my children are grown now. I know. You still think I'm 29. I know, I know.
Yes.
I'm aware of that, but I am a grandmother. In fact, oh wow, my 8th grandchild was just born last week.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, that's
Congratulations.
super cool. Naomi, beautiful biblical name. But when I think about them being in school and when my children were in school, it's night and day difference. We didn't have to have those
That's
fights.
right. But I'm really glad that we can now move on from that chapter because we have the law now.
You have the law.
And before it was just a policy and a general expectation. A lot of people just thought this is just common sense. We shouldn't have these things in there. When they found out it is, that's what started everything.
And most parents didn't realize a lot of these things were in
They did not.
school. Their children were being taught these things and exposed to this, and we're wondering why we have issues in our homes and in our schools.
That's right.
So, what else is it that was on your list that you believe that you have checked off?
Well, excuse me. One of the things I wanted to make sure is that our kids had an enriched learning environment, and shortly after I was elected, I was tasked with evaluating the current leadership of the school, and that involved the superintendent. And it didn't take me long to determine that we did not have the right type of leadership at Flagler
That
Schools.
was quite controversial.
It was.
It was a lot. People wanted to keep her. Some people wanted her to go.
Yeah, and it is a big decision for a community, but at the same time, this really is a personnel decision, right? And the board is elected to make sure that we have the best superintendent and the proper legal structure for legal counsel, right? Those are right. And that was another area where did not realize that on the legal side that we needed some changes there until after I got elected. But going back to the superintendent, that was a big deal. And it was not a firing; it was a non-renewal. The contract was up, so we just decided not to renew the superintendent's contract, and that is something that I would say that I led that charge, and we were victorious in that decision, and that paved the way for the amazing superintendent that we have now, Miss Lashaka Moore, who's doing a
great job,
fantastic job, has restored the relationships with all the stakeholders in the community, and is moving the academic needle. And so I'm very impressed with her efforts thus far.
As a community member and one that unfortunately have to advocate on behalf of parents and students when things go awry, I haven't had to do that much lately. Ms. Moore has regained that trust in the community and also with faculty and the students. And it seems as though things are just running smoothly along.
Yes, and when I was elected, one of the biggest complaints, or during the campaign, one of the biggest campaign complaints was communication, and
that's true.
And when you don't communicate, that makes, especially with parents, they're gonna get very upset. You don't communicate with your stakeholders, they're not going to be happy either. But since in the last 2 years, I've seen the amount of complaints and emails drop, and I get copied on almost all of them, and they respond sometimes within minutes, usually same day.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So it has improved greatly, and I have not had any complaints about communication for at least a year from any of my constituents.
Have you been enjoying your time on the school board?
I have.
Is it what you thought it would be or better?
It's better because honestly, you really don't know what you're signing up for. As far as the day to day, right? You know your mission, you know why you're going there, but a board changes with the people that are on it, right? So you're always working with different personalities. So one board is working one way and another board is working another, and we just went through that transition in the last election. So you have to be able to be a people person, be able to adapt and improvise, overcome, and have good discussion with your fellow board members to get anything done, right? And at the end of the day, we all have different backgrounds, but we all have one common goal, and but I would say I have really enjoyed it because, and secondly, the reason why I enjoy it is that we've been successful in moving policy that's advancing the school.
Wow. Speaking of transition, you had a transition. Sally Hunt resigned, and then there was an appointment. What's the difference in the two boards? And I say, I'm asking that, but I did see towards the end, right before she resigned, Sally Hunt, that she was just really coming around. And it seems as though, with you being chair, that things have just been moving smoothly.
Well, my goal is to keep an efficient meeting, and the chair is really can control that in a way. Because the goal is to make sure every board member is heard, everybody gets the information that they need so that you can get to a vote, right? And I will tell you that in Flagler County, we do a lot more than other counties do. Some just have their business meeting once a month, and that's it. And they do everything there, and they vote there. We actually have 2 workshops every month before we go to the business meeting at the 6 p.m. meeting at the GSB and actually vote. So we do a lot of work and research before we go to a vote. And on top of that, we're engaging in between there, we're engaging with staff, getting the answers we need. And sometimes we're having special meetings also or executive sessions that are closed door for safety and security and things like that. So our board works very hard to make sure that the superintendent is empowered and our staff and faculty have all the tools they need to advance education in Flagler County.
All right, well, we're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere, guys. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Today with Pastor Jay. How much time I got?
About 12.
Okay, all right. I'm just going to kind of time myself. Put my glasses on, see what that says over there. Okay, all right. Oh, I have a watch on. I guess I could have done that. I'm ready. Welcome back. Welcome back. You are listening to Today with Pastor Jay and my highly esteemed guest, the Honorable Wilford. Have you gotten used to that yet? The Honorable?
I never get used to it.
Which, speaking of the Honorable, your wife now is the Honorable Jamie Furry because she was honored by She Leads Florida for her faith. How cool is that? Among over 60 women throughout the state of Florida.
Very proud of her. And she does a lot of work behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know. But she serves this community, she serves our schools, and she's a great wife and mother.
Oh, that is super cool. So let's talk about school funding. And I want to get on that because it's a challenge trying to figure out how schools get funded. And just recently, there has been circulating, even on WNZS, some false news.
Yeah, there was a statement that was made regarding impact fees that implied that they may be more flexible than they really are. But the reality is, I just want to clear the record on that impact fees are what we collect from the developments in town, because what they're doing is those impact fees can only be used for building schools, student stations, right? Or to pay debt for student stations.
That's it?
That's it. Yeah. If we borrow money to build a school, then we can use that money to pay the debt service. Or if we're paying cash for it, we can just pay it out of that fund. But we cannot use that for salaries, for
nothing,
supplies, nothing. It is only for building schools.
Are you sure?
I'm very sure.
Okay.
And the thing is that if you follow our school board meetings, we get a proportionate share of mitigation that we have to review from time to time. And these are when new developments are coming into town. And even though they may not be built for months or years out, there's a calculation of student stations that are going to generate because of that. Because we have to have schools ready for them when those children. So they're even though those students aren't here yet, they are paying in so that we can have a station when they do build those homes.
Wow. Yeah, because you have to calculate that. Otherwise, the schools will be overrun. Where are you going to put this?
Right. And it's something you have to address. You have to revisit from time to time. And that was set by the previous board before I was elected. But the forecast keeps changing. When I came on, they were forecasting that we were going to be building schools, either middle school or a high school, for within the next 5 years. But now the new forecasts are looking more like 10. And
Do you think that's because of I think the homeschool numbers have gone up and
vouchers have definitely impacted our
Christian
budget.
schools now are starting to pop
Homeschool,
up?
yeah.
Homeschool, Christian schools. Because as a Christian, I'm thinking public school is not producing after my kind. I'm just saying.
Well, this is one of the years that we felt the full impact of that to our budget.
Okay.
We had and I'm just going to give you an approximate number off of memory, but it was around between 300 and 350 students that went to vouchers.
Wow.
Yeah. So that, and I'm going to touch in a moment how we get funded and how that affects us, but that was about a $2.5 million hit to our budget. And so, I will tell you that when I came in, this is another thing that I on my checklist of things of accomplishment is that we were in a dangerous financial situation when I was elected. We were sitting with a fund balance or our reserves of about 3%. Okay. Now the board requirements are between 5 and 8%. That's where the board policy says that needs to be. So we were dangerously low then. And to give you how serious it was, if you drop down to 2%, the state comes in and takes over your books.
What?
Yes, and we were 1 percentage point away from that.
And that was where Flagler County Schools was when you were elected.
That's right.
Oh,
and so we gave a direction to the superintendent, to the staff, that we need to put a laser focus on getting this fund balance back to where within the parameters of our policy. Number one, right? But the previous administration had allowed it to get down that low. So fortunately we did that, because had we didn't and we had taken this $2.5 million hit back then, we would have been in a world of hurt. Right.
That's true.
So, but we're sitting in a good place right now. But we are seeing forecasting that we may in the next year see another decline of about a little over 100 students in the next budget year, on top of the ones that we've had this year. Right.
And why do you think that is? Is it just because now the laws have changed and people can take the vouchers and take the money and they're looking at other ways? Or do you think it's because over the years, the public and parents have just lost trust in the public school system?
Well, I think it could be all of the above, but it's too early to tell. We're going to get data on this, because this is really new in the way that in the form that it is now. Vouchers have been around for a long time, but now they're just open to everybody. There's no qualifications. Anybody can get the voucher. So we have to see, is this just like a new restaurant that opens in town? Everybody wants to go there.
Oh yeah.
But then you go back to your old favorite, or is this the path forward? Is this what it's going to look like from here on out?
Yeah, because it's too soon.
And it's going to be a day by day. But I personally have tasked the superintendent to be looking at ways to market our school. We're in competition. We're no longer the monopoly.
That's right.
We have to take a different
You're in competition
mindset.
with the Christian
Yes.
schools. You're in competition with home schools. And what are you offering?
Right.
That's what we want to know.
And Flagler Schools offers a lot. And I will tell you that in Flagler County, for resources and programs and everything, we are the best institution for those things. Now, parents may have different reasons why they want to send their kids to other schools or homeschool, and I 100% support that. I ran on parents' rights and choice, and I think parents should have that choice. But there is a little bit of imbalance with how the amount they get versus they get about the same amount as we get, but we have to provide a lot more services than they have to.
Right.
So there's a little bit of imbalance there, but that may have been an unintended consequence from the legislature, but they usually fix these things as they learn about the impact of the policy. Right. So, but let me go to quickly how schools are funded. So we are the only taxing district that does not set its own millage rate.
Okay.
So what was required of the schools is we have what's called a required local effort. That comes from the property taxes. So even those in our community that don't have kids in school, you are supporting these schools through your tax dollars, right?
Okay.
But then what happens is that we're paid per student. We have what's called a full-time equivalent. So, and there's counts throughout the year to fund us for these student counts. So we call it cheeks and seats, right? That's how we generate. So, but then no matter how much money we receive up front from the required local effort, the state then does that calculation and then cuts it on the back end. So if you're in a county that is property tax rich, you're going to get less state dollars, right? And if you're a small town in a rural area and where your property taxes are low, then the state funds are larger in that budget.
Oh, wow.
So we never get a windfall. It's not like some people say, oh, well, the property values had gone up and your coffers must be full. They're not, because we get adjusted for that. So, wow. And mind you,
people don't know that.
They don't know that. So we cannot just say, hey, we need something. Now, I will say that in Flagler County, though, this county has been very generous by giving us the half-cent sales tax, which is a big help, and I appreciate that from the taxpayers of Flagler County, because that shows they value education in Flagler County, and I'm appreciative of that. But those dollars are very restricted too. So we have buckets of money, right? We have we have one bucket over here. That's our general fund. That's where we pay our bills out of, right? Then we have our capital accounts and our impact fee accounts. Now these are things that are restricted dollars. They can only be used to build schools, to improve them. Well, not impact fees, but our capital dollars, to fix our schools and things like that. Do additions like we did in Matanzas High School. Beautiful new. I invite the public to come in and tour that building. It's an absolutely beautiful addition. And we put a state-of-the-art woodworking craftsman carpentry shop in there. That's just part of our commitment to Classrooms to Careers and Diploma Plus, right? But there's a beautiful media center there. So, but so sometimes some people look at our budget and they go, "Wow, you have so much money," but that may be true in some circumstances. But we can't use those monies to pay teachers, to give raises. We can't. And
I'd like to also add, because I just learned this recently, we got to take a break. I was speaking with a former school board member, and she was telling me how, and this is that even though a number of homeschoolers are gone, the school system still gets some of the money. Not all the money go with the students, so you still get some of that money. We don't get everything.
Yeah, for the homeschool, there is some of that, but there's also something called a PEP, where people can. What we're looking, that's getting kind of into the weeds here, but ultimately, I'll bore people with school finance here.
Okay.
But one point I want to bring out is that our budget, just about 82% of our budget goes to salaries and wages and benefits. So there's not the difference there. That's all we have for the rest of it, right? So we have a lot of people are surprised to realize that that's how much it takes to keep this operation going. But 82% goes to salaries and benefits.
All right, we got to take another break. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Today with Pastor James. I have 2 to 3 minutes? Okay. Maybe 2. I kind of went over. All right. You ready? Want to give a thank you and a shout out to Church on the Rock. Thank you so very much for sponsoring Today with Pastor Jay. So the Honorable Will Furry, I've got like a minute left, but I want to say kudos to you because congratulations. I think you had a middle school graduate. Yes. At home.
Going on to Matanzas High School.
Going to Matanzas High School. And you're about to go on a mission trip.
Yes. Yeah. Headed to Guatemala, and I'm excited to be going with my son. He's going for the first time on a mission trip to Guatemala. Yes. To share the love of Jesus Christ, build some houses, some water filters, some food baskets, and so looking
that's
forward
gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Well, congratulations to you. So what's next? I mean, I know you've got one thing left on your checklist and you're doing everything very well. How confident are you in the board? I mean, I know we're looking, you may get another appointment if one of your board members assumes another position, but how confident are you in the board that you have now?
Oh yes, I'm very pleased. We're all working very well together, and just like anything, we don't always agree on everything, but we have a very collegial relationship. And we have some civility back in our discussion. There's respect for each other, and I appreciate that. And I think our staff appreciates that too. And I've heard good feedback from them because that's a big thing that they see that stability. It helps them do their job more effectively also.
But that speaks volumes of who you are. I mean, because you are the chairman of the board. And everything is based on your direction and how. So I want to say thank you for bringing that back to Flagler County Schools and to the community, because we definitely appreciate it. I was kind of getting tired of going to the school board with signs and pickets and stuff. And I'm sure the other community was as well. So thank you so very much for that.
And one other big win that we've had is that we broke a nearly 9-year cycle also. Of not having C schools in our district.
Wow.
Yeah, we have all A and B schools now. So that was a major academic outcomes advancement. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well,
so
thank you so very much.
Superintendent Moore is moving
Promises
the needle.
made, promises kept. Thank you so very much. All right, guys, you know what I say? Yesterday's gone, tomorrow's not promised. What are you going to do today? Today, you are going to go to a school board meeting. Check it out. You can also go online and watch it. Hey, I do it. Have a great day. God bless you.